George Martin, welcome to 7:30.
I'm glad to be here.
Is your life a testament to the fact that there is actually a value in daydreaming?
Actually, yes, I think it is. I've been daydreaming and night dreaming my entire life, from my childhood in Bayonne, New Jersey. I grew up in the projects in Bayonne, New Jersey. My father was a longshoreman. We didn't have much money. Didn't even own a car. You know, I lived in a world that was 5 blocks long. But Bayonne, New Jersey, my hometown, was a peninsula, and there was a deepwater channel right across the street from me where the big ships would go from Newark Bay to New York Bay with all the different flags, Australian flags and New Zealand and Scandinavia and China and Liberia. And I would dream about being on those ships and where they were going. And at a very early age, I started reading comic books and then science fiction and fantasy books and then books of all sorts.
Well, take us to Game of Thrones. When did you first start imagining this world?
1991. I remember it very vividly. It was the summer of 1991. I was working a lot in Hollywood at the time. I'd been on a couple shows as a writer-producer on Twilight Zone revival, on Max Headroom, on Beauty and the Beast. And I was doing development, trying to come up with my own concepts for pilots, but I didn't have any immediate assignments in the summer of '91. So I said, let me write a novel. It's been 4 or 5 years since I had my last novel out, and I started this science fiction novel that I'd begun, been planning for years, and it was going pretty well. I was like 40, 50 pages into it when suddenly the idea for the first chapter of Game of Thrones came to me. The chapter where they find the direwolf pups in the summer snows.
There are 5 pups. 1 for each of the Stark children. The direwolf is a sigil of your house.
I knew right from the beginning that they were summer snows. That phrase was one of the germs, and that there's something wrong in this world with the seasons, and that these direwolves were important, and that each one would have a connection with one of the children of the leading family. And I started writing that chapter, and it just poured out of me in about 3 days. And by the time I'd finished it, I knew what the second chapter would be, and I went on to that, and then the third chapter, and so on and so forth.
You'll train them yourselves. You'll feed them yourselves. And if they die, you'll bury them yourselves.
I like great characters. I like people who have both good and evil in them, because I think real people have both good and evil. There are very few pure paladins in the world, and there are very few totally evil people. We all have the capacity for heroism in us. We all have the capacity for selfishness and evil in us.
I would name you the Hand of the King. I have a son, you have a daughter, we'll join our houses.
How do you play this Game of Thrones, this cutthroat game? You know, do you play it according clean and noble, according to the rules that you've been taught? You do that, you could very well lose your life, and you could lose the lives of people that you love, and your family or your children, because the other people that you're playing with are not playing by the same rules. So then do you compromise your principles and get down and dirty with them and play it in the rough and mean way that you think might be necessary to win? Well, then maybe you survive a little longer, but what have you become in the end? I mean, these are issues that I think are very much worth talking about, not only in fiction, but of course we see this reflected all around us in the real world, the constant struggle of ideals versus realpolitik.
The series is very true to the book.
Yes, very much so.
And you've got a lot of control over what happens with the series.
Oh, I wouldn't say I have a lot of control, but I have a voice. You know, I write the books. David Benioff and Dan Weiss are the showrunners. They write the majority of the scripts. I do 1 script per season.
In the ancient books, it's written that a warrior will draw a burning sword from the fire. And that sword shall be Lightbringer.
I've been very excited and pleased about what it's done, and among other things, of course, it's getting me millions of new readers for the books, because the people who watch the show then go out and buy the books, and I'm all in favor of that.
Now, of course, on the books, the question all your fans want to know is, when will the next one be out?
When will the next one be out? Well, that's a good question. December but it's a book called Dangerous Women that I edited with my friend Gardner Dozois. And it does have an Ice and Fire novella in it, though, a novella I wrote called The Princess and the Queen, about a Targaryen civil war 150 years before the events of the main books. So that's that will have to appease them until I finish The Winds of Winter, which is still a ways. I mean, these books are enormous. They take me a long time to write. Someone asked me at Supernova this weekend, what's the hard part of writing? And my answer was the words. The words are hard.
So, look, you began your life as a daydreaming boy. Does your life seem like a daydream now?
A little bit, yeah, a little bit. But it's worked out pretty well. And I don't think I'd change much of anything.
Well, George Martin, thank you very much for speaking with us on 7:30.
Oh, my pleasure.